All right, here's a few news articles that I found interesting. Um, this is something I haven't heard that much about, just a few mentions on the news. You may have heard more, but this is something, you know, a lot of us are worried that Donald Trump is going to win the next election, and in a way, it's more that Biden's going to lose it. And every time any representative of the Biden administration gives a speech, they are interrupted like 10 or more times by people protesting the attacks on the Palestinians. And so I understand what's going on. Biden is old like me, and he comes from a generation that's pretty much 100% behind Israel because you remember World War II. But the younger generation sees a very opposite view of Israel because of the Netanyahu administration over there that's been just awful. And so anyway, it just seems like this is something that may very well cost Biden re-election. Continuing to fund and support and give arms to Israel when they are using them in a way that is extremely hard to accept in Gaza. So anyway, there was protests when Kamala Harris spoke around here, and every time any of them speaks, there's a ton of protests. I heard interviews with Muslim voters in America, and they said, I will never be able to vote for Biden. And they said, what are you going to do, vote for Trump? They said, no, when the presidential election comes in, I'm going to write in ceasefire, which is what these people do. So, because I'm afraid that's awful. If you're a Muslim in America, you really got neither presidential candidate to vote for. Good morning. Anyway, so this is something, my mom had lupus, a lot of women do, and women get autoimmune diseases much more than men. With lupus, they get it 9 times as much as men. And so we've always wondered why it is that women's bodies, their immune system, have a much higher tendency to attack their own cells. And in this research, these people claim that what's going on is there is a special process. Because women have 2 X chromosomes, there is some special process to suppress the action of one of those X chromosomes, and that process is somehow involved in making their autoimmune system more likely to attack their own cells. Now, the thing about this that bothers me is we have 2 copies of every gene, except for the sex genes. Men have an XY, women have an XX, so men have 23 other pairs. So wouldn't men also need an equivalent way to suppress the unused member of the pair? Anyway, we'll see, but this is one of the medical mysteries that people are struggling with, and that's the latest bit of progress. So this is something I've heard a lot of people talk about AI. You know, if you take a look at large language models like ChatGPT, they can write text that looks like a human wrote it, but all they're really doing is copying text that they found on the web, and instead of just literally copying it, they've done a mathematical operation to convert the words to numbers and draw a smooth curve through the numbers. So they have learned the basic structure of language. So they can make language that follows that structure and looks like properly formatted English structure. But they don't understand what they're saying. They don't know that any of the words mean anything. They don't have any idea that there is a world out there. They don't have any actual experience. They don't know that there are consequences to anything they say and all that. They don't have any understanding of what's going on. And so one of the arguments has been that in order to actually understand the world the way a human does, you'd actually have to live in like a robot body and have experiences with your body interacting to the world to learn that there are things out there, and when you talk about things, you're actually referring to objects. So they took a child and attached a camera to it, an infant, and got a large amount of data where this child wanders around the world, experiencing the world and learning it the way a child does, where you see some object and then somebody tells you that's called a glass, that's a zebra, that's a book, and then you come to, through experience, associate the word with the object. And now they're trying to teach AIs based on that data. The first results here are not terribly impressive, but it is a very interesting process for both psychology and for artificial intelligence to see what you can learn by trying to actually teach language to an AI the way humans learn a language. So there's a flaw in the Windows event log process so that you can send, if you have any account, even a non-administrator account, and you can send a signal, you can turn off the Windows Event Logger on any machine in the network. And Microsoft doesn't seem to care. They don't seem to want to patch it. So these guys have actually made an unofficial patch. This does seem like in a Windows domain, you could suppress logging while you're doing a bad thing. So it seems like a fairly serious flaw, although Microsoft does not seem to be taking it seriously. And I see a comment, Python cannot optimize its architecture by itself as fast as the computing power grows. Well, I suppose that's true. Yeah. All right. And so this one I thought was very interesting. As you know, large language models tend to lie. They make up hallucinations and give you false statements because, as I was saying before, they don't understand what they're saying. They just know how to make it look like a properly formatted page of English writing, so they will cheerfully just write something that is not true at all, because they don't really understand the difference between truth and falsity. But they found a way to improve them on medical questions, and it just doesn't explain technically how this works, but it seems like a very important thing. See, there's another problem with AI. Most of the large language models are trained only on a pile of data that goes up through 2021. So if you want anything more recent than that, they don't know. Now, the modern ones, they're trying to connect them to the live internet one way or another, but the traditional way you would include extra data in an AI is you'd have to retrain the whole thing on a larger data set, and that's very slow and expensive. So now they have something called RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. So the AI can run, create an answer, and then it can ask questions of some other source of data to improve the answer. And this apparently is working. They took an AI that was answering medical questions and they connected it to a dictionary of medical facts, a online database like a textbook of good medical. Check this textbook to see if what you're saying is right. And this works, apparently. It has a much lower chance of telling you wrong things. So this seems like this technique is what would be needed for almost every application of AI. All the people I'm consulting for and everybody all have the same issue. They want the AI to work on their data set appropriate to their company, and they want it to somehow they want it to understand English as well as the large language models trained on the whole internet, and they want it to understand our company's database with perfect accuracy, so it'll give you accurate answers from our company's data. And exactly how to mix those two together is an area of ongoing research. So this seems extremely interesting, and I definitely want to learn more about it. Udemy has a 30-day free trial, which I didn't know, but they do, and the courses there are pretty short. So this guy says there's a whole bunch of cool AI courses you can take in that 30 days. RAG is recommended by the local llama subreddit. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, RAG seems like great. I'm going to have to try and figure out how it works and see if I can add it to my AI course. And the last one is particularly on target for this class, if I can somehow get rid of the ad. All right. There's been a lot of hacks of critical infrastructure. And Iranian hackers hacked a Pennsylvania water facility, and now the government has officially sanctioned them. So this is right on target for this class, and that's what leads to this class. So I'm going to stop the news and move into the official class stuff.